Jeremiah Fears, the Oklahoma point guard, checks in at number 7 on our consensus big board at Sleepers Media. That falls right in between where you and I had him, Riley. You had him number 11 on your big board. I'm the high man on him. I had him at number 3 on my big board. He is my favorite prospect in this class outside of Cooper Flag and Dylan Harper at the top. He kind of took college basketball by surprise this year. He was a reclass, was supposed to be a senior in high school this year. Reclass, joined Oklahoma, sight unseen. No one really knew what to expect from him or Oklahoma this year. The end result was they went undefeated in non-conference play. Struggled in the SEC, but it was the SEC. Made the tournament as a 9 seed. He was one of the best freshmen, best players in the country. Cemented himself as a lottery pick pretty early on, and that's where he still stands today. So, what allowed him to do that? Why was he so successful?
It's the quick twitch. It's the burst. I would say he is elite at getting into the paint. His handle's really good, just keeps defenders on their toes. And the upside is there for a playmaker as well. Measured really well at the combine as well. I believe he was 6'2" without shoes, so he is like a legit 6'3", 6'4" playing height. And you mentioned the youth. He's just scratching the surface of his potential.
Yeah, he really is. And he made the statement pretty early on too. Like Oklahoma did not have the expectations this season. Then he went and scored 26 with 5 boards, 5 assists against Arizona at, at the Battle for Atlantis. And we're like, oh, okay, he's pretty good. And then the Jumpman Invitational against Michigan scores 30. If memory serves, hit the game winner in that game too to beat a pretty good Michigan team. And at that point, the hype train was on. If it wasn't for like a 6 to 7 game stretch in the middle of the season when he kind of hit that freshman wall in SEC play where he
Mhm.
did not perform well, I think we were talking about him much more in terms of being higher up in the draft. So smooth watching him play, so explosive. He can create for himself off the bounce. As you mentioned, he's got good size, he's got good length. If he plays point guard in the NBA, which he's projected to, great positional size, has to round some things out on defense. And there's still some inconsistencies in his game, but he showed the ability to do everything you want a modern day point guard to do. And to do that when he still should have been in high school and came to a team in June or July when he committed to Oklahoma, to
Yeah,
have that
really late.
impact, yeah, have that impact that quickly at that age can get you excited about what his potential is. But as I mentioned, some of the inconsistencies and sometimes inefficiencies, there was some volume, low efficiency, high volume shooting nights. Um, can make you wonder. It's why he's 7 and not top 5 on our big
Mhm.
board. What are some weaknesses or pause that had him fall out of your top 10?
Yeah, it's really the efficiency. The jumper, he was 28% from three this year. And even beyond that, his efficiency around the rim was really bad considering how explosive he is. Now, some of that you take into the context. His supporting cast was super weak. Oklahoma was pretty much a two-man team. It's him and Jalen Moore and a bunch of nothing outside of that. But that's a concern for me. Less of a concern because he is so young is the frame. Like I get he's got great height, good wingspan, like he looks really slight like against SEC competition
Yeah.
just going back and watch tape again, not a huge concern just because of the youth and everything, but sometimes that I would say raises like a slight red flag. That's a little too harsh to put it, but you're on alert that maybe this is just his frame and he's never able to put on as much weight as you'd like.
He looked like a kid.
Hmm.
He looked like a kid out there. And some of that's just he still has a bit of a baby face. But he but he looked like a kid out there. We'll get to our categories. Now, we did this for all of our top 80 prospects on our consensus big board at Sleepers Media. We're going to start with one word to describe his game. You'll go first, and then I will, and then we'll explain our answers. What was the word you had for Jeremiah Fears?
Variance.
I had smooth.
I like yours better than mine. I went with variance just because I can't get a good read on this guy. I don't know where I want to project him. There's so much to love about Jeremiah Fears because this to me is like one of the biggest arguments in his favor. Reclass guards don't really work out. Like you
No,
rarely see a dude who does this as a freshman, and considering the supporting cast, it's like truly incredible that he averaged over 17 a game in the SEC with not many other guys taking attention away from him. And you see the highlights are there, the playmaking flashes are there, but the variance part of it is like, oh, and the aesthetic of like the upside down headband, love that as well. But the downside is just some of like the chaotic nature that is Jeremiah Fear, some of those inconsistencies and the jumper, like uh I mean 38 makes 28%. That's a long ways from where you need to be, even if you are like super explosive and can get to the free throw line a ton.
to the point of the variance, I was going back through his games, and I think the last two games he played for Oklahoma really speak to that because you had the SEC tournament game against Kentucky. He scored 28 points in that game, but was 2 of 11 from three. And then the NCAA tournament game against UConn, he scored 20 points. It was 5 of 14 from the field. In both of those games, Oklahoma looked dead, largely because he was incredibly inefficient.
Mhm.
And then they nearly won both games because he brought them back.
It's a microcosm of who he is as a player.
Yeah.
Which one are you going to get? Can he sustain this and play for a winning team? As I'm thinking this out loud with the context, I'm like, you put him on a better organization or better players around him, he should figure it out. But there is some risk there for sure.
Yeah, there is 100%. I said smooth. Got to watch him play in person, and some guys just move different. Where everything is connected, everything feels like he's always in control. Like that's Jeremiah Fears. The game against UConn, you're going against Dan Hurley team. You're going against a team that is experienced and they had some defensive issues this year, but it's still UConn. He was controlling everything in that game. Even while he was 5 of 14 from the field, when he was on the court, he was doing whatever he wanted to do, getting to where he wanted to go. UConn would try to make things difficult for him, and he would find ways to figure it out. Just being that in control and that smooth again at that age, very impressive to me. He moved like an NBA player. That's why I said smooth. It's also why, as we get to our next topic, I think he's more likely to hit his ceiling in the NBA than his floor. Do you think he's more likely to do ceiling or floor?
I said floor, but I don't think it's as low as the floor. I'm gonna have him. We'll share our best case
Yeah.
and worst case NBA projections. I think he's gonna be somewhere in between these two. But yeah, I gotta go a little negative and say floor.
It's always tougher when you do these because sometimes, the ceiling can be so high that he's more likely to hit the floor because the
Mhm.
ceiling is just so high, or he's more likely to hit the ceiling
Right.
because the floor is so low. Right? That plays in some of this too. Is it just the inconsistency for you that makes you wonder if it's a floor deal?
Yeah, inconsistencies. And if this was just a blip, a guy who's maybe it's easier to put up big numbers when there's no expectations on him early in the year, whatever you may
Mhm.
hypothesize there. But yeah, and the
Yeah,
jumper too.
I'm going with ceiling. I obviously have him as number three on my big board. I love his game. I love his mentality. A 6'4" point guard. I think there will be some muscle that comes along as he gets a little bit older. But he was somebody who took things head on. He was never afraid of the moment. He was never afraid to jaw a little bit with guys on the other team. Often sought that out. Again, very capable to create his own shot off the bounce. Had really good feel for the game and was able to make plays for others and not force the issue. Not to say there weren't some turnover issues at times,
Mhm.
but a lot of his turnovers, I think, were more of the fact that he had to do everything for Oklahoma. When you have the ball in your hands as much as he did, you're going to turn it over. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. There were some bad decisions there, but I think that comes into play too. The shooting is something of a concern. Again, sub 30% from three. That's never a good thing. But he does so many things well, and I think the mentality is there that I liked what I saw from him a lot throughout the course of his freshman season at Oklahoma. What team do you think would be the best fit for him in the draft? Projected to go in the lottery. Maybe a team trades up for him. We left this open for the whole league. So what team do you think would be the best fit for Jeremiah Fears?
The Brooklyn Nets.
Okay. I went with the Pelicans.
For me, the thought process behind the Nets is you would go to a place where they already have a starting point guard in place with D'Angelo Russell, Russell's probably not the long-term solution to where if Fears pans out, you could have a passing of the torch, so to speak. I think for all the hate that D'Lo gets with being like not really a playoff guy, usually disappearing, he's a great regular season player, and I think is at his best when he's allowed to orchestrate the offense, which just allows Fears to kind of step in and be that secondary guard at first before eventually, hopefully evolving into the number one in time.
I went with the Pelicans because I don't know if the Pelicans have a point guard. Right, DeJounte Murray might be that guy, but he's typically been better playing off the ball in his career. CJ McCollum the same kind of way. There's something of a hole there that he can
Mhm.
fill. And you can play DeJounte Murray at the one and bring Fears off the bench to get him started out. I don't think at this point I think we're pretty clear Murray is not like a 1A option for you. So you can bring Fears along a little bit. Mention the supporting cast. Pelicans are not a lottery caliber talent. Like they have the talent of a playoff team, but injuries
Mhm. Mhm.
keep derailing them. Hello, Zion Williamson. Keep derailing them to where I think they can capitalize on it and he can join a team where he's in position where he can come along at his own pace with a talented group around him and some pretty good vets as well. Like if CJ McCollum takes him under his wing, I think that could go pretty well. Which
Mhm.
leads me to the next category where we think he will be in 5 years, where his career will be. We had the pick, all of us got to pick anywhere from All NBA, All Star, a starter in the NBA, bench guy, if he's in the G League, if he's playing overseas, or if he's hosting a podcast, as lots of former players do nowadays. Where did you have him?
I had him coming off the bench.
I had him as an all star.
Oh, okay. Sell me.
Everything that I just mentioned in terms of the size, I think he'll grow into his body. I
Hmm.
think he will add some strength onto it. If he lands in a spot where he can start sooner rather than later, at least get the opportunities to good playing time sooner rather than later, I think we'll see him adjust to the game pretty quickly. What he can do with the ball in his hands, both creating for himself and others, I like a lot. Defensively, he won't be a liability because of the size. Also, the shooting we'll get to in a second. Um, I'm not that concerned about it, to be honest. He wasn't great at the rim either, as you mentioned, from a percentage standpoint. He was really good at getting there. He was really good at drawing fouls, and he shot a lot of crazy shit, just to be quite honest with you. Partially, I think, from immaturity, and partially, I think, because he felt like he had to,
Hmm.
right? Like, his Oklahoma team didn't have a lot of options. But the ability to get there, the ability to get to the line are things I trust more than trying to throw up some hook shot from just outside the paint where fading away because the shot clock's running down and nobody on our team can do anything. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, that's
so
fair. I mean, he is
that's
the dude
that's
who
why
like
that's why I have All Star.
when he was in like reclass rumors last summer, like every time I pull up YouTube, my algo would suggest like Jeremiah Fear scores 49 points, like
Yeah,
in some AAU showcase. And I'm like, why is this dude not a top 15 kid and he's ranked like 35th or whatever? So he's defied expectations so far to where I don't think you're that off base in that even if I had him on the bench.
my motto for the NBA draft this year, and I've developed this. This is a groundbreaking theory. A lot of times, good basketball players continue to be good at basketball. Look who's still in the NBA playoffs right now, right? You have the Knicks, who had led by Jalen Brunson, who was picked in the second round because he's not a supreme athlete. Josh Hart wasn't picked super duper high, right? You have the Timberwolves, who obviously Ant was, Rudy Gobert was picked 27th, Dante DiVincenzo on that same Villanova team, Final Four MOP, right? Shea was picked outside the top 10. Yeah, all these guys who were not surefire, like, oh, we're all stars, are now leading teams in the conference finals.
Mm.
And even you go outside of that, the Nuggets are led by Jokic and Jamal Murray. You had Peyton Pritchard won Sixth Man of the Year for the Celtics. He wasn't good enough to be, so all good players find a way to still be good. I'm gonna bet on the guy who went to college before he should have and was awesome.
Fair take. Fair take.
We're gonna go to his yearbook superlative now for all of these prospects. We're saying that they are most likely to do what in this draft class. So, what was your superlative for Jeremiah Fears?
I actually got to give credit to Greg for coming up with this one, but I said most likely to list somewhere other than his college as his alma mater on an in-game graphic.
God, that's so good. That's
I
so
can't
good.
take credit for it. Greg was the one who came up with that. I just copied off his work.
I said he's most likely to go from a bad 3-point shooter to a great one.
Okay. When I look at him shoot, like I don't see a bad form there. Like everything you're saying, you're sort of talking me into it where I'm like, shoot, man, maybe I should have said he's at least a starter if you're the one saying he's an all-star. Like
What what is typically the biggest indicator of shooting success moving from one level to the other?
I believe it's free throw percentage, Ralph.
Free throw percentage. Jeremiah Fears shot 85.1% from the foul line on 6.3 attempts per game. We mentioned some of the bad shot selection, certainly there. How much of that is just can be cleaned up? How much of that was playing for a team where he felt like he had to?
Hmm.
The stroke is smooth. He's got good touch everywhere else. I think it's just a matter of some maturing in his game. If that happens, I think he can become like not just a good 3-point shooter, but a legitimately great
Hmm.
one that other teams have to worry about.
I actually see that as well, Ralph. I think that's a really good shout.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Best case, worst case scenario. Got player comps for both best case and worst case scenario. So if the best case scenario plays out for Jeremiah Fears, the 0.01% chance, what does that look like?
Tyrese Maxey.
I went Jamal Murray.
Look at this Kentucky guards.
Yeah.
Yeah, for Maxi, I was thinking similar size, like both kind of slight frames. Here's something crazy. Maxi made 33 threes at 29% his 1 year at Kentucky. Jeremiah Fears, we already said 38%.
Uh,
Excuse me, 38 makes it 28%. Maxi was a great finisher at the rim that 1 year at Kentucky. I think he shot 67% at the rim. Fears was nowhere near in that ballpark, but Fears shot almost 100 more free throws than Maxi did during his freshman year, to where like that, I think that kind of balances it out there to where, yeah, if it all clicks for Fears and he is where Maxi is today, it's not going to be that big of a surprise. You definitely see some traits, similar traits with how they play.
yeah, I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Murray to me kind of keeps in line with the smooth part of his game. Jamal Murray, every time I watch him play, just looks so smooth. He's so creative with the ball in his hands. You never really know if he's setting up somebody else or creating his own shot because he's equally good at both and can keep a defense off balance that way. There's also the fact that Fears is seventh on our big board. Jamal Murray was picked seventh in the 2016 draft. Just some symmetry there. Some symmetry there. I will say, if Fears is able to average 18 points and 5 assists essentially for his career, it's a pretty good deal.
Mhm.
Pretty good deal. Now, what about worst case?
Dennis Smith Jr.
Austin Rivers.
Oh, see, I went with DSJ just because he had more of like the kind of true point guard archetype, at least. Like he was also
Yeah.
supposed to be this explosive dude who also could set his teammates up, but had some of the same shot selection issues. So this is like if Fears can never put it all together, I could see it going to like a DSJ trajectory where for there's that means like for 7 years, like there are gonna be a bunch of teams who take a flyer on you. You'll always be like I think DSJ was on the Hornets last year, if I'm not mistaken. He had a
He
couple
was.
moments with them. Like this is
He
almost
was.
a decade after he was picked. So
Didn't
yeah, he'll
Dennis
get
Smith?
plenty.
Didn't he also try to like play in the NFL for a little bit?
That
Did I
wouldn't surprise me.
did I make that up? That happened. That had to have
He
happened.
he's also been mentioned in J. Cole songs, so that's like not the worst outcome for Fears. Like you still
There you
might
go.
get you still might get a shout from Jermaine.
October 27th, 2022. CBS Sports article. Smith revealed that his story could have been completely different. Before signing a non-guaranteed contract for the Hornets, he had his sights set on the NFL.
Wow. What was he gonna try to play?
Probably receiver, I would guess. Which his size
It could
may
be
have worked out.
intriguing.
May have worked out. I went with Austin Rivers again. Just if you are more scoring guard than point guard, you're undersized for that role, like Austin Rivers was. Your shot selection is a question, and the playmaking was there in college, but let's say it's not there in the NBA because you're a good athlete, not a great one by NBA standards, certainly,
Hmm.
and you just kind of toil around for a little bit. And I think people forget too. If Doc wasn't the head coach of the Clippers, I don't. Austin Rivers would have been out of the league in like 3 or 4 years. Now,
Yeah.
Rivers became a very good bench guy for the Clippers, but there was a version of him that could have been out of the league pretty quickly. I don't think Fears is gets to be that bad. I
Hmm.
think the more realistic worst case scenario is the one where he is the Rivers bench guy for the Clippers. But I could see him also being in a spot where his career teeters like that at some point.
Hmm. Yeah, just never puts it all together. Yeah,
Yeah.
we both were kind of on the same trajectory of guys who get chances and never put it all together. But I mean, Rivers actually feels like he stuck around in the league and had more meaningful roles than Smith Jr., but I just kind of see some parallels in the way they play.
Yeah.
But Smith Jr. is like the obviously the low end of it. But yeah,
I'm realizing that I had Jeremiah Fears as an all-star and Jamal Murray as the best case comp has not made an all-star team.
has
One,
Maxi?
that should be rectified.
I agree.
Number two, maybe we're shooting a little too low on Jeremiah Fears. Maybe he's got a better ceiling than that.
Hmm.
As they'll say, there are no comp. He's the first him. We got 79 other of these videos on the channel breaking down all of our top 80 prospects on the Sleepers Media consensus big board. Make sure you check those out.